Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerdcore Podcast, the podcast where reviews the movies and talks that nerd shit. This is episode. Wow, I am talking with a bunch of crackers in my mouth. 629. And it is your review of Paths of Glory. My voice cracked right there, too.
This is starting off well.
As always, this is the Nerd. You're going to hear the host of the show along with my wonderful co host, Brad, Young Yoda.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to a wonderful, wonderful Monday afternoon.
Live and early for our patrons over at patreon.com/the Nerdcore. Brad, turn on that nice little scroller for me, please.
I got you.
Oh my god, yeah. Live and early for them only at patreon.com/the Nerdcore at the $1 tier. You get this episode live and you can go ahead and interact with us. Usually this is done at night, but this week is gonna look fucking weird as shit because HCAF is still going on, and I'm still doing all these movies. And I have a screening tonight at 7:30, which means I would not be home by the time that I would like to do this episode with Brad. So we gotta do it early. And Brad is on vacation for 3 weeks, so honestly, it lined up perfectly.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thanks, Brad. I'm sorry. It's no more fun. It's no more fun for me to have to do these things like this, Brad. It causes frustration to me too.
You know you're having fun at the festival.
No, I love the festival, but having to plan around the plan my recordings around is not the fun part. It causes me a lot of.
I'm glad my schedule is so open now, at least for the time being, because usually it's my schedule that fucks everything up.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I just watch movies on Thursdays, man.
Also, I want to put it out there: we are not the same company who animated the hit show Slugterra. I just want to throw that out there.
In case you're only a listener or watcher of the Nerdcore podcast and not the Nerdcore live show, we are not the company that animated Slugterra. Please do not come in here and get mad at us because we canceled Slugterra because it was canceled. We did not do any of that. We are not part of that company. We are merely a podcast company.
Yeah, I cannot read what was written, but Raul could.
And I explained it to Brad and I translated as much as I could. And Brad was like, wait,
I know what he's talking about.
Oh my god, Brad. Well, Brad, how has your Monday been so far?
Uneventful. I saw my friend off, so I made breakfast today: chorizo, egg, and cheese burritos. So one of the three things I can actually cook. Who said that? Then I actually was on Hulu just before we got on, and this show on Hulu called Champaign, Illinois. It caught my interest. So I've been watching a few episodes of that. I don't know if I'll finish just the one season it had. Apparently, it came out in 2018 as a YouTube show, back when YouTube had a studio that made shows, and I guess Hulu picked up the rights. But it's basically about these two friends to a rapper, and then the rapper gets really famous, and then he dies, and then it's what these two friends have to do to survive, basically.
So it just follows them?
Yeah. So it basically follows them because they go back to their hometown and they don't have any money or anything. So and the premise is this rapper, he blew up back when they graduated high school, and it's 15 years later. And they basically dropped anything they were going to do because they thought it was only going to be a year. And then he just kept becoming like one of the biggest rappers. And it was 15 years later, he dies. And then they're left there because he didn't have a will or anything. So it all went to his mother. And so they're just kind of stuck with, no resources anymore.
Yeah. Sounds like an interesting show, Brad.
It's a comedy. So it's had some funny moments.
Yeah. I just went to work today, and that's all I did. Yesterday, I did the movies I had to watch, and then I watched Invincible before I went to bed.
I did watch Paths of Glory also today.
Nice, yeah. Paths of Glory. We're gonna be continuing on with our Stanley Kubrick month today, and today's my first pick. And I wanted to look at this movie because I had never seen it before. I I only know the tracking shot um, from the from when the shells are dropping. That tracking shot just showing everybody in the trenches.
Hmm.
That's the only thing I knew about this movie because it's like a really famous shot and people always bring it up. And that's about as much as I knew about this movie. So yeah.
Also, it's one of the shorter Kubrick movies.
A lot of the stuff before this is a lot shorter. Once he makes Spartacus is when everything starts to get really long.
I am Spartacus.
Yep.
I am
Kirk
Spartacus.
Douglas too, Brett.
Oh yes. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I just figured out Kirk Douglas died in 2020. So,
Yeah. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this going. Paths of Glory is a 1957 American anti-war film co-written and directed by Stanley Kubrick, based on the novel of the same name by Humphrey Cobb. Set during World War One, the film stars Kirk Douglas as Colonel um, Dax, the commanding officer of French soldiers who refused to continue a suicidal attack. After which Dax attempts to defend them against charges of cowardice in a court martial. And the film was co-produced through Douglas's film production company, Bryna Productions, and a joint venture between Stanley Kubrick and James B. Harris Kubrick Pictures. In 1992, the film was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry. And of course, written by Stanley Kubrick, Calder Willingham, and Jim Thompson. And it stars Ralph Meeker, Adolphe Menjou, George Macready, Wayne Morris, and Richard Anderson. Cinematography is done by George Krause. Who did he ever work with Kubrick after that? Oh, I don't think so.
hmm.
Nope,
Interesting.
nope, he didn't. Edited by Eva Kroll. Music is done by Gerald Fried. And it sits at an hour and 28 minutes, and on a budget of $900,000, it made $1.2 million at the box office,
Yeah.
which
You
would
know.
mean
Yeah.
times three, 900,000 times three would be, it would need to make 2.7.
In what terms, though? Like, what was advertising budget back in the day? Like, we're gonna put this on radio.
Yep. So who knows, right?
Who knows? So
Yeah.
they probably broke closer to even.
Yeah.
Probably a little under the hole.
Well,
if
after this, I
anything.
think he works on Spartacus. So I mean, I pretty
Spartacus
sure.
was a huge fucking hit.
Yeah. I mean, but also that's a movie that taught him that he was not going to make movies without a good amount of control over it. So
Yeah.
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 But Brad, what is your initial thoughts on Paths of Glory?
I gotta say, like Kirk Douglas, fucking fantastic in this. I gotta throw that out there. But so I watched this on Tubi because it's free on Tubi. Um, and it's a bit what's the word for it? Not pixelated, but like there's a lot of static kind of going on in the
I
picture.
want to see what this looks like.
Yeah, so it's not the best thing ever to watch. It's not horrible, but you can definitely tell it hasn't been cleaned up in the Tubi version by much. Um, but
They
I,
got that
I
VHS rip.
but I love Kubrick's framing throughout this film. I love the shots, his following shots. I think he does a masterful job in really getting that tension in there, being in the trenches, and then he takes that and sends us over to the courtroom where you're just seeing the biggest horse and pony show going on by the French court or the French military, and you're just like, "Well, this is a bunch of bullshit."
Yeah.
And but I find it hilarious that this is about the French military and all the actors are American, from what I can tell. So that's all. It's always good back in the 50s and 60s and 70s because they're like, we're just gonna throw white people in there, you know.
It's like, oh, you're
That's how it
supposed to be
works.
French?
American.
Pretty close.
Nobody. We don't want them to speak French anyway. So be as a man. But I really thought this was well done. I mean, this is one of Kubrick's first, right?
Let me see this. This is actually his fourth film.
Fourth film. Yeah, even at fourth film, I swear this man. It's another one of those. It's this director can't really do any wrong from what I can see. So I really enjoyed this movie and thought it was a well done anti-war film, as they all say.
Oh my
I
god. You
I do
watched
have
this?
yeah.
I'm
So
looking at the Tubi
yeah,
version.
yeah, it ain't great. So it ain't great, but if they cleaned it up, it'd be fine. I do have a Roger Ebert review pulled up because I was
Huh,
like, I wonder what Ebert fucking. I liked it. I wonder if Ebert just absolutely just trashed this movie, and actually liked it. You get 4 stars.
nice.
Four
Yeah.
stars, and then there was a paragraph in here I wanted to read if I can find it.
Well, while you do that, I really like this movie. Like I said, I never watched it. I wanted to watch this for a really long time now, but I just never got around to it. And I thought, oh, it's a Kubrick war film. It's something that I would think I'd be interested in because I've seen his other films, and I think that he does war really interestingly, like in Full Metal Jacket. But this is early Kubrick. Early Kubrick is really different from late Kubrick. So I watched this and I agree with Brad. I think it's a really good movie. I think it has a really interesting message about what, war, but also this idea of like duty to your country and what it means to like to what's it called, be a traitor, and what it means to like uphold, like the thing is, like, it's so crazy because like they can be okay with the guy who is sending them to their death, but they have a problem with the people who just they can't go to their death because they're unable to, and they see that as cowardice instead of like just not being able to cross into no man's land. So I think that Kubrick crafts a really interesting film that like brings those things to the table, and it's really good. I think it's a really good movie. Brad, do you have the quote?
I'm kind of looking for which one I wanted to read. It's a pretty good write up if people want to go look at Roger Ebert's critique of it.
Yeah. Well, I thought that the framing was incredible. The camera movements. I mean, the tracking shot is so famous. He does two of them in here. When they first get to the trenches, and then second when they're what's it called, when the shells are dropping, the bombs are dropping, and they have to go into no man's land. They all just get what's it called. You have this incredible tracking shot, and you see how different everything has changed and how it's really sunk in that this is actual warfare now, and they're not really prepared for this, but they're still trying to, you know, be involved, but they just, they're kind of their backs are kind of against the wall.
Okay, so I guess I have two paragraphs here. If it's okay to read those.
All right.
So this is focused in on when the condemned are sharing a cell. So that's where Ebert's starting it in this part of his post. That night, the condemned men share the same cell. Do you see that cockroach? One says, "Tomorrow morning I'll be dead and we'll be alive." The film until this point has been bitter and unromantic, but we think we glimpse a turn in the plot. Dax learns of Moreau's orders to fire French artillery at French troops. He finds General Brulard at a fancy ball and informs him of Moreau's artillery order. In any conventional war movie, in a film made by 99 directors out of 100, there would be an 11th hour reprieve. The condemned men would be spared, and the stupid and treacherous Moreau would be publicly humiliated. Humiliated. Blah, blah.
Yeah, dude.
So just to go off that one before I read the second one, he's right. Ebert is absolutely right in this, and I was expecting for a reprieve from these guys. I was not expecting these three men to be sent to their death by firing squad because I thought, they had been saved at the last minute. And Kubrick, in very Kubrick standard, is like, no, because that's not how life works. You don't get saved at the last minute usually.
No.
You fall to your death.
Yeah.
And I thought that was actually a very clear kind of study to it. And then in the second one, Paths of Glory was the film by which Stanley Kubrick entered the ranks of great directors, never to leave them. When I interviewed Kirk Douglas in 1969, he recalled it as the summit of his acting career. There's a picture that will always be good years from now. I don't have to wait 50 years to know that. I know it now. It has an economy of expression that is almost brutal. It is one of the few narrative films in which you sense the anger in the telling. Samuel Fuller, who fought all the way through World War II, remembered it in The Big Red One, with nostalgia for the camaraderie of his outfit. There is no nostalgia in Past the Glory, only nightmare. And I think you get that all the way to the end,
Yeah.
where Kubrick goes away from this. Basically, we've seen war torn, and to the courtroom, basically condemning these men to death at that point, in a fraud of a trial, and you get to that singing part, and what will be very soon after that, Mrs. Kubrick. Um, People don't know that, which I found kind of hilarious. And just it becomes kind of almost numbing, her song. And it starts off with her being paraded in front of these French soldiers, and she's a German singer, and you think, oh, they're just going to boo the hell out of her, and then at the end of the day, you're just kind of figuring out that they all have suffered throughout this war.
Yep. Yep. And I think Kirk Douglas is really good in this movie. You can tell just how much he's like trying to defend his crew, but like his back is up against the wall as well. It just seems that everybody's trying to work against them, and they want to just put them through this fraudulent trial.
Well,
And
and I so it just shows you how, you know when you have bad management or bad leadership in this respect,
mm-hmm,
the shit flows downhill, and the people who
mm-hmm,
gets hurt in it isn't the ones at the top having parties
no,
and balls and all that. It's the brave and battered soldiers who had who received medals in previous battles, who aren't cowards, and they're getting called cowards to their face by these men who stay in their sheltered areas, who may walk through the battlefield you know once every year, if that. And it's just a shame. And that's what I think Kubrick's bringing is this is shameful. And also another reason, also, if you didn't know, France didn't allow this movie to screen or to be shown in France until 1975.
yeah, yeah, because they don't want him to know how what's it called how who the real cowards are, Brad.
Hmm.
The real cowards are the ones who are in those rooms with those balls and aren't willing to go into the battlefield.
And I mean and it's really funny because you have the main French general, and yes, he brings forth the uh the other general. He brings forth, like, oh, you fired upon your crew, we'll need to have a hearing on that. And but he's already killed off, three soldiers who didn't deserve to be killed off. And then he just thinks the colonel brought this general in you know, for this really major, killing or threatening to kill his own people, I guess, with artillery fire. And the dude's just like, oh, Colonel, do you want his job? Is that why you did this? And the colonel's like, are you sadistic? Are you out of your mind? No, he literally is someone in charge who said to fire on his own people.
Yep, yep. And it's so good, man. Like you really like you see how Kubrick comes to form here. Everything from camera movements to his framing and everything to the stories he selects. It's starting to really show the Kubrick that we know
And
later
I,
on
I
in his career.
and I feel like this is a blueprint to a lot of future war movies. The way
Oh
you
yeah,
see them shot, like moving through trenches, the explosives going off. Just the overall feel of a war movie really
yep,
does feel like it kind of started with this. And I think there's one from the 1930s, kind of similar.
yep.
But I feel like with war movies, I feel like Kubrick really had it down with war movies. He had it
Oh yeah.
pretty
Now you
spot
could tell
on.
that he had a different look at it, and it was very. And I hate to say it, but he had a very like European look to the execution of war films that you didn't get out of a lot of American directors at the time.
No, and I think uh, the black and white of this movie does do it service. I think if you tried to do this in like color film, it probably wouldn't have come out in the same
No,
vision he wanted.
no, no. It works so well with black and white, and I think that it's such a great. I think it's such a great movie, man. I think it's great. I don't think it's as good as his other ones, and it's a lot because a lot of his other movies just build upon this and do better with its thematic subject. But I think it's such a great movie, man. I really can't say that it's something that lost my interest. I think it had it the whole time, and I love when Kubrick does these anti-war messages. I think they work so well with his films, and he does it again in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, and I think he really hits it spot on, and a lot. There's probably a lot of people miss that complete message when they go like, "Oh yeah, I love Full Metal Jacket." And it's like that was his anti-war kind of cry, and so is this.
Yeah,
But I just gotta say, Kirk Douglas. I don't know if he won an award for it, but he should have.
yeah. Honestly, I'll be real honest with you. I believe that too. I believe that too. But anything else that I'm remembering here? I like the music. The music is fun. I think that the restoration they did for this for Criterion is pretty good. But I do want to pick up the Kino Lorber 4K. They have it. There's a 4K of this one.
Oh,
So
so here's something funny in Wikipedia. It has controversy in here for
what?
reception and influence. It has controversy thrown in there, and the film was banned in all United States military establishments, both at home and overseas, due to its content. So my guess is this never got a fair shake on the award category.
No, no. They're like, no, you can't be showing us what everything that we do wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
crazy.
Spain, the fascist government of Francisco Franco objected to the film. It was shown there until 1980. It was not shown there until 1986, 11 years after Franco's death. The Swiss government banned any presentations of the film until 1970 on the grounds that it was incontestably offensive to France, its judicial system, and its army. The film was withdrawn from the Berlin Film Festival to avoid straining relations with France. It was then not shown in Germany until 2 years later after its theatrical release in the United States. And then we know all about France, how it wasn't shown until 1975. So it just tells
Right.
you Kubrick had a very amazing way of pissing off everyone.
Yep. Yep. Well, I guess that's Kubrick for you.
Yeah,
Yep.
good movie though. Give him
Damn good
that.
movie, Brad.
Damn good movie.
Yeah. Brad, what's your final verdict?
I will give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. I thought
Nine
it
and a
was
half out of
amazing.
10. I'm going for an 8 out of 10, man. I really like this movie. I don't place it as high as the other ones that I've seen from Kubrick, but I think it's a great movie. I think it's such great groundwork, and it really shows where his career is going to really start to flourish.
You don't
Cause,
miss.
yep. But that said, that concludes our review of Paths of Glory, and we thank you so much for joining us. As always, keep up to date with us on nerdcore.com. Twitter is at the nerdcore _. Instagram / threads is at the nerdcore. Patreon.com / nerdcore at the $1 tier. You get this episode live and early before anybody else gets to watch or listen to it. Discord link is on our description so you can discuss this movie with us along in our comments. Please comment and talk to us about this movie. Have you seen it? Do you like it? No, we're not the Nerdcore Animation Studio.
No. Sorry, and we apologize about Slug Terra, even though that wasn't our fault.
No, not our fault. Yep. Yep. As always, we want to thank all the wonderful all the wonderful Patreon supporters that make this possible. And of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and click the notification bell so you don't miss a single piece of content that drops on the channel. And then if you're over on the audio side of things and you're listening to this on a podcast platform, follow us on that podcast platform and rate us 5 stars. Brad, can you tell them about our wonderful producer, Shane?
You can follow our friend Shane at twitch.tv/xsrk or on Twitter at thriftedil, or go buy something from the Suppy God at prisoncityvintage.com.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And With that said, we will catch you all later on in the week. We're going to be discussing Martin Scorsese's Kundun because ideally I would have liked last month to have been Martin Scorsese month number 2, so that way we could have celebrated Killers of the Flower Moon. But it was October. It was you know horror month. So at least we'll celebrate him by watching this movie from Martin Scorsese and his, I believe, his only collaboration with Roger Deakins. So really interested to see that. Really interested to see that. But without further ado, Brett, let's get him out of here. Send him out.
All right, Roland. Thank you, being host as always. Thank you to our listeners out there, all our Patreon supporters. We appreciate each and every one of you. Nobody joined us in chat today, but if you do in future shows, thank you. And to end this episode, I will say, I'll just quote Kirk Douglas in Passive Glory by saying, I can't believe that the noblest impulse of man, his compassion for another, can be completely dead here. Not here, but in the movie. Not here. Movie. Young Yoda out.